Hit high down the right field side. Deep at the foul pole. Right at the pole. And it gets out of here. Jed Lowry has hit a pinch hit, 3-run home run. And the Astros lead it 5-3 in this unbelievable ninth inning.
Twice in that ninth inning, the Astros were one strike away from losing the ball game. And Lowry hits the big 3-run pinch homer, the second home run of that ninth inning, both by players who did not start the game. Now, the Astros, after winning that one, come to Arlington, Texas. Bill Brown, along with Alan Ashby, who called that home run yesterday with Jeff Blum. Julia Morales joins us soon to see if there is any kind of a carryover effect. Is there such a thing in baseball?
Is there momentum? I don't know. I'm really not sure, but I have never in all my years in the game, Brownie, seen anything like yesterday. I've heard tales about what can happen in the ninth inning, but with 2 outs and 2 strikes, as there were on Preston Tucker, and then it just kept going man for man, getting on base, leading up to that home run by Jed Lowry. Never seen anything like it.
Now fast forward to this game tonight, and it's round 1 of the old-fashioned Texas shootout, a 4-game series with a game and a half separating these two clubs in the standings. The Astros, by virtue of that win, were able to hang on to that game and a half lead.
And in the process, gain a game on the Angels. Otherwise, the Angels would have been 2.5 back had the Astros not won. So they're 4.5. Rangers at 1.5. And if the Astros can split this series, they will come out of Arlington with a 1.5 game lead. And to me, that is not the desire for the Astros, but something that can be accepted.
They meet 7 times in the next 2 weeks. Coming up, more on the Lone Star Battle in just a moment.
% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. By Texas Bay Credit Union. Texas Bay Credit Union is the official credit union of the Houston Astros. Join today. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Here at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. These two teams about ready to do battle. And for the 12 games they've played so far this season, the Rangers have won 8 and the Astros 4. Of the 6 games here in Arlington, Texas has won 4 of the 6. The Astros 2-4 on this road trip and 2-1 on the homestand. The Rangers on a 10-game homestand, and they have generated some momentum and cut into the Astros lead, but now it's head-to-head, and Jed Lowry's been the star of the last 2 Sundays with those big home runs. We go down on the field to Julia Morales.
Thanks a lot, Brownie. Heard in the dugout just before the game, if you're a baseball fan and you reside in the state of Texas, this is all you could want from a series. But the Astros facing this Texas Rangers team that has been a thorn in their side all year long. A.J. Hinch saying that this is just a really tough matchup for the Astros. The way skipper of the Rangers, Jeff Bannister, plays all brands of baseball, runs a lot, bunts a lot. Well, here's what's happened in the season series. 4-8 versus this Texas Rangers team this year compared to how they're doing against the other teams in the division. We just took care of the Angels just this past series. It's our jack-in-the-box inside the box score, but they're doing well against the other teams, but they have to find a way to figure out things against this Texas Rangers ball club, like I said earlier, that has been a thorn in their side. Big series, guys.
And it starts with Cole Hamels headed for the mound. Preston Tucker had the big home run in the 9th inning yesterday to get things started in the 5-run 9th as the Astros overcame the Angels 5-3. He is not in this lineup tonight, but here's a look at it. It's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. George Springer leads it off. He's in right field for the Astros tonight. Jose Altuve follows him and plays second base. Batting third is the shortstop, Carlos Correa. The cleanup man is third baseman Jed Lowry, with Colby Rasmus in left field, Evan Gattis the DH, Hank Conger the catcher, Luis Valbuena at first base, Jake Marisnick in center field.
And on the mound for these Texas Rangers, left-hander Cole Hamels, 31 years of age, a veteran of many wars through the past. 3-1 now as a member of the Rangers. ERA gettable at 4.07 in his 7 starts here. Defensively behind Cole Hamels, it'll be Mike Napoli in left field. Coming over from the Red Sox, Delano DeShields in center, and Shin-Soo Choo has been swinging a hot bat in right. Left side of the infield, Adrian Beltre and Elvis Andrus. On the right, it's Rougned Odor and Mitch Moreland. Chris Jimenez does the catching.
So the much anticipated series begins. And Hamels also is in that spot in the rotation to pitch game 1 of the 3-game series in Houston in less than 2 weeks. So Cole Hamels, who has been pitching well lately for Texas, and the Rangers have won his last 5 starts, goes out for career win number 118. George Springer leads it off. He's on a 3-game hitting streak. And the fastball is up for ball 1. Jerry Davis is the home plate umpire. Springer had 262, has 13 homers, 29 runs batted in for George. He was 5 for 12 in the Angels series. That's in for a strike, and it's 1-1. Springer, with a 361 on base average, has been leading the way. In fact, as the leadoff man, he has a 385 on base percentage, second in the majors to Jason Kipnis among leadoff men. Out in front of the changeup, and both these pitchers have excellent changeups, Ash.
That really is the vaunted pitch of Cole Hamels. Doesn't overpower you with the fastball or any other pitch for that matter, but that changeup can dominate.
Hamels, 31 years old, traded by the Phillies to the Rangers, and he has paid some good dividends. Upstairs, 2-2. He is 3-1, although his ERA with the Rangers is 4.07. He had a very good season going with the Phillies before the trade with a much lower ERA, but that would be normal. Top to the left side. Here's the shortstop, Elvis Andrus. 1 out.
It's a good strong arm from shortstop to make that play, and Springer able to stay back and get a piece of that changeup.
Jose Altuve follows. Altuve's on a 4-game hitting streak, and not only that, but he's doubled in 4 consecutive games. 7 doubles in his last 7 games. 313 for the season, 11 homers, 58 runs batted in. Altuve had one of the key hits in that 9th inning uprising, an RBI single yesterday. Puts this one in the air to left field. Mike Napoli backing way back. Altuve has unloaded a bomb. 1-0 Houston. Number 12 comes from Jose Altuve, and that's his 59th run batted in.
He's just got himself a first pitch fastball up in the zone and launched it to left field. Little man has some big pop.
He's now 3 for 5 lifetime against Hamels. That's his 5th career homer against Ranger pitching, and the Astros get a quick run on their 198th long ball of the year.
And the Astros obviously hope that one run in the first inning can go a long ways.
Carlos Correa bats. He looks at strike one.
So many pitchers will start with the fastball. This one up at 93, and Altuve didn't miss it. Now Correa took one at 94 to start it.
He puts one in the air to left center field. DeShields over. And that's out number 2 for Hamels. It's quite windy tonight. The wind is a south wind, which is not the normal pattern here in this ballpark. The home run by Altuve was measured at 367 feet. The Astros now have hit 10 homers in the last 5 games. Well, really 4 games and 1/3 of an inning. Now it's Jed Lowry batting. Lowry hit his 9th home run of the season yesterday. He has 27 runs batted in and a .235 batting average for Jed. And the switch hitter looks at strike one.
Hamels is maintaining more of a fastball than I anticipated. He's been up to 95 already here in the first.
Fouled off the leg of Lowry. He limps away from home plate with an 0-2 count. When Lowry pinch hit and delivered the 3-run homer in the 9th inning yesterday, he snapped an 0 for 17.
If you're going to snap out, do it at the right time, huh?
Might stay with him a little while. He caught some bone with that foul ball. Colby Rasmus on deck. Both these teams just about identical in the runs per game average department this season. Astros do score quite often on the long ball. They certainly have been in the last few games. That one got him. Lowry hit by the pitch, and now he will continue to limp as he takes his time getting to first base after fouling the ball off his leg. Might have gotten hit in just about that same place, Ash.
Yeah, you come off the high of yesterday's game with the game winner, and then you start out that next game in this important series hitting one off of your shin or foot, and then having this happen, and just a painful start to the 4-game series.
Lowry is asking for some assistance there at first base. He wants that sliding glove. He wears that mitt when he is a base runner to protect the surgically repaired right thumb. Colby Rasmus will be the batter. Rasmus is 1 for 6 lifetime with a homer off Hamels. Actually, Hamels has been hurt more by left-handed batters since joining the Rangers. They're hitting .306 against him compared to right-handers .256. And there's his throw to first base. The Astros have won 77. They've lost 66. The Rangers are 75 and 67. First time these two teams have played each other, with both having meaningful games in September since Major League Baseball placed 2 teams in the state of Texas, and it's ball 1. Rasmus with 19 homers has 49 runs batted in, hitting .231. Colby has 2 of those long balls against Ranger pitching. Hamels misses, and it's 2-0. He has struggled with the Rangers in locating his fastball since the trade. With the shift on, there's a swing and a miss, and it's 2-1. Colby quite often sees this type of shift.
And now brought to you by MD Anderson, our slow-mo replay right there. Our strike zone, excuse me, as Colby Rasmus completely fooled by that off-speed pitch.
Now it's 2-2. Both Hamels and Kazmir were drafted in the first round in 2002. And they both squared off in the 2008 World Series between the Phillies and the Tampa Bay Rays. They faced each other in Game 1 and also in Game 5. The Phillies won both. Rolled out into that shift. Odor over to his right, throws back to first base. And the Astros get the long ball from Altuve. They strike first. 1-0 Houston. Also attended the University of Houston. He goes with center fielder Delino DeShields. Shin-Soo Choo in right field. Adrian Beltre at third base. Prince Fielder, the DH. Mike Napoli's in left field. Only his second professional game in left field. Mitch Moreland at first base. Elvis Andrus shortstop. Rougned Odor second base. Chris Jimenez catcher.
On the mound for the Astros, left-hander Scott Kazmir, who now makes his 10th start already for the Astros. He's just 2-5. Could use a little more run support. Nice ERA at 3.13 for Scott.
Corner infielders are on the grass for speedy Delino DeShields. That's strike one from Kazmir. DeShields, the former Astro first-round pick in 2010, was taken in the Rule 5 draft by Texas. He's hit .254 for the Rangers. Quite a lot of center field for them. Took over there for Leonis Martin. And DeShields has a .343 on base average. He has 22 steals. A good man to keep off base. He just snapped an 0 for 17. And he is 2 for 11 on this homestand for Texas. Kazmir is 11-6 in his career against the Rangers. Missing there. He goes to a 1-2 count.
That's the kind of command Scott would love to bring into a game like this, where on an 0-2 pitch you're just nibbling off the corner.
DeShields takes it in. It's 2-2. Here at Globe Life Park, Kazmir is 6-4 with a 3.12 ERA for 13 career starts. In for strike three. Oh, that cut right across the big part of the plate, and DeShields watched it for the first out for the Rangers.
So Kaz lets it run to 2-2, and then just Pumps that fastball that finds the dead heart, as Brownie's saying, and very surprising to see that taken. And now let's take a look at the key to the game, brought to you by your Houston area Chevy dealers. Shin-Soo Choo has just been downright red hot, and here in the month of September, tearing it up. And this is probably the guy, along with Adrian Beltre, the Astros have to shut down on that offensive side.
Hit hard, Correa. A pick to his right and a beautiful play for out number 2. Tremendous hands by the rookie shortstop, and then plenty of time and plenty of arm to take care of the out.
And Carlos Correa has been genuinely challenged in recent games with one hot shot to one side of the body or another. And he keeps coming up with the plays. He is amazing, able to go to a knee here and back off as much as possible on that one hop shot. Yeah, that's not easy at all.
Adrian Beltre's the batter. Beltre looks at ball 1, 264, 15 homers, 55 runs batted in for Beltre. And he has made the Houston pitching staff pay. He has inflicted a lot of damage on the Astros this season. Big cut there, takes it to a 1-1 count. He's hit .321 against the Astros. And he's driven in 12 runs in 12 games against them, with 6 doubles and 3 triples for Beltre, including hitting for a cycle. 3rd of his career, August 3rd against the Astros. 2 balls and a strike. Kazmir lost his last start at Oakland, coming up against Sonny Gray 4-0, giving up 4 runs in 6 innings. In for a strike, 2-2. And Scott, the Houston native who went to Cy Falls High School, was drafted 15th in the first round in 2002. Cole Hamels was drafted 17th in the first round that year, a draft in which Prince Fielder was also a first-round pick. Kazmir was drafted by the New York Mets, traded to Tampa Bay in 2004 for Victor Zambrano. He really became a good pitcher with Tampa Bay. 3-2 now to Beltre. Beltre has 410 career homers, 51st on the all-time list. Ground ball, backhanded. Long throw from Lowry, low, and Valbuena is there with the one-hop pickup at first. So the Astros really support Kazmir with the leather in a 12-pitch first inning, 1-0 Houston. Yesterday's game, we hit the ball hard all series long, and they got caught. At some point, it had to fall, and they fell in the 9th inning. It was big for us. You saw just a triple by Springer, a nearly great diving catch by Cole Calhoun in right field, and then that ball got stuck in Featherston's glove, and then this ball just out of the reach of Calhoun. So the Astros got some balls that could not be played in that game. Gaddis is from the Metroplex. He hits this one to the center fielder. Lino to Shields. One pitch, one out here in the second inning. Talked about that 2002 draft. Prince Fielder was 7th. Scott Kazmir 15th. Cole Hamels 17th. And now here we have the Hamels-Kazmir matchup from that draft.
Pretty fair draft right there.
You bet.
You got potentially the Cy Young Award winner this year in the National League, Zach Greinke, in the 6th spot.
Nick Swisher, fine player. And Conger bats and takes ball 1. Switch hitting catcher with a .217 average, has 11 homers, 32 runs batted in. Hank has hit .155, batting right-handed. On a breaking pitch, it's 1-1. Jason Castro continues to get closer and closer to returning from the disabled list. He was doing some catching drills before the game tonight after doing some running. Wouldn't be surprising to see him coming back as early as tomorrow. We haven't gotten any report because he caught the bullpen during batting practice or after we were on the bench area anyway, so didn't hear how that went. But he was feeling quite a bit better and thinks that he can be under control with his running and manage this tightness in the quad, a grade 1 strain, for the rest of the year.
Doesn't feel he can run all out, but he also feels, as you say, that he can kind of control it and be able to get along well in the ball game.
Conger has stepped in and he's caught quite a lot with the injury to Castro. He's been a big contributor. The Astros' depth is being tested. Now they're without Carlos Gomez, who went back to Houston for a test. And he's to rejoin the club before tomorrow's game. It seems that it is some type of oblique injury, but that's to be refined and nailed down a little bit closer before some determination is made about what to do with Carlos. And 3-2. Rangers really have tweaked their team on the fly this year. The trade of Hamels in July, a big part of what they did to make those adjustments, and the Astros did the same thing by trading for Kazmir in July. A strikeout is number 1 of the game for Hamels.
Now, one of the real keys with Hamels is, as a hitter, do you feel like you can look for the changeup, and that'll come at you time after time in that kind of scenario.
The infield shifts around for Luis Valbuena, whose 22 homers have helped him drive in 49 runs with a .208 batting average. Line to Beltre at third, a scorcher. Valbuena's had a few of those. It's a 9-pitch inning. It's 1-0 Houston.
addition to our yard. Love that. That's bold.
Prince Fielder leads it off 1-0 Houston. Ball one to Fielder. Fielder with a .307 batting average, has 18 homers, 75 runs batted in. He is 5th in hits in the American League, 164. That one's in the air, and on the left side of the infield, it's Jed Lowry moving over toward the line. The wind is really causing a problem, and he drops it. The fielder reaches on the error by Lowry.
And now for our Super Mode, brought to you by Mattress Firm. Take a look at the travails of a third baseman in the major leagues. He just simply never got that ball in the pocket.
Not only is it windy, but it's that time of night when it can be difficult to see the baseball too for some players. Now Mike Napoli steps up. Napoli coming in a trade from the Red Sox in the lineup against this left-handed pitcher Kazmir to help give the Rangers some more pop. That's what Bannister's looking for. And there's ball one, and to the point that Jeff is unafraid of playing Napoli in left field. 214, 16 homers, 44 runs batted in, even though he's been primarily a first baseman at DH. He's a former catcher, but had not played left field in the pro ranks until yesterday. 1 ball, 1 strike. Both these teams have been a little shy of offense when facing left-handed pitching this year. Jeff Bannister wanted Napoli's bat in there.
Yeah, I guess the surprising aspect there is the willingness to put him in left field when Mitch Moreland, the first baseman, has played considerable amount of outfield in the major leagues.
In for a strike for Kazmir, 1-2. Kazmir, take a look at this play first.
Just works it down and in beautifully, catches that edge.
Kazmir 2-5 with Houston with a 3.13 ERA and 9 starts. He has not had much run support at all. The Astros have been shut out in 2 of his losses. Ground ball, and the shift will not prevent that from being a hit. Past a diving Correa. A single for Napoli. First and second, nobody out.
Ooh, under normal conditions, that's an automatic double play with Napoli going down the line, but finds that gap.
Kazmir has pitched a number of outstanding games against the Rangers. In fact, his 2.92 career ERA is the lowest for a pitcher against the Rangers since 1972, the 3rd lowest behind Frank Viola and Ron Guidry. And now it's the lefty hitting Moreland. Shift is on for Mitch Moreland. He's had a very good year so far.
I got scared just looking at that list of pitchers.
Really?
Ron Guidry I saw back in his heyday when you just couldn't get to him.
Louisiana Lightning. 287 for Moreland, 19 homers, 71 runs batted in.
You know, a lot of people talk about pitchers need to be the big body guy. Ron Guidry was certainly the answer to the other side of that.
He was. Very thin. Whip-it-like. 1 ball, 1 strike to Moreland. Moreland's hit .310 against Houston pitching this year. Now the Astros have scored more than 3 runs in a Kazmir start once. His first start, a 4-0 win in Kansas City for them, July 24th. A swing there takes it to 1-2. Rangers have hit .278 against Astros pitching, scoring 60 runs in 12 games. Jerry Davis out to pick up those wrappers. He's blowing around on a very windy night. Rangers have advertised for their fans to wear red for this series. Looks like it worked.
I would guess this is not the color that was worn last night at the Cowboys game.
1-0 Moreland takes it. And now it's 2-2. Drafted at 7 by the Rangers in the 17th round. There you see the flags at the very top of the stadium. Wind coming out of the south today, which is not always the case here in Arlington. And the thought was this afternoon that because of this little different wind pattern, it could lead to a very favorable night for the hitters. There's a swing and a strikeout. Number 2 for Kazmir.
Fastball at 92. That's not the high-end heater from Kazmir, but gets the job done. His command is very good here this evening. He's had a lot of good locations. And he gets a big left-handed bat in a key spot.
27-year-old Elvis Andrus from Venezuela. Carries a .259 batting average. 6 homers, 53 runs batted in for Andrews. First came to the Rangers in 09. They got him in a trade in July of 07 with Atlanta, involving many players. Andrews has been known to bunt. Lowry's in tight at third base. There's ball 1. Ned Odor is on deck. Kazmir catches the edge. It's 1-1 to Andrus. Mike Fiers was the starter yesterday in Anaheim for the Astros. He went 7 innings, giving up 3 runs. That really helped the bullpen situation. Chad Qualls got the win after a third of an inning from Tony Sipp, and Luke Gregerson picked up save number 27 in the game yesterday. That's foul, first base side. It's 1-2. Such a well anticipated occurrence here that these two teams will be playing meaningful games in September. But if you had polled the fans here tonight and the fans who will be in Houston when these two teams play there in several more days, how many would have thought it would have happened this year?
Yeah, I think it's well documented. The Astros, big surprise to be in this position, but I think just about as much so the Texas Rangers. They were not a good club a year ago.
2-2. These two clubs were widely picked to finish 4th and 5th in the AL West by many before the season started. And their managers have really done outstanding jobs, A.J. Hinch and Jeff Bannister. Now it's a full count. Starter ERA has improved for both. Both are among the top 5 in the majors at improving that starter's ERA from last year to this.
Yeah, the Rangers are not likely to be running, obviously, with Prince Fielder and Mike Napoli on the bases, but I wonder how many times they might try to exploit Hank Conger in this series.
In the air, and let's see, this is going to be back out of play for Conger. Still 3-2. They have 84 stolen bases. And they've been caught 33 times. That is a part of the Rangers game, the running game.
I think given the chance to run, they're going to take it, but this is not one of those alignments in terms of base runners that you'd be likely to see them go.
Fielder and Napoli. In the air, and it goes on the right side of the infield. Infield fly. Altuve with the catch. 2 outs. Andrus retired, and now it's Rougned Odor. Odor has been torrid lately. Has 13 homers, 20 doubles, 6 triples, and a .270 batting average. He also is a good butter. Fiery player. That has manifested itself in this series earlier this season. That's a fly ball to center field, way back Marisnick, and that is in for extra bases. One run home, fielder scoring. Napoli's being sent to the plate. Correa with a throw home. Conger with a tag, and he's out. Tremendous job by Hank Conger of diving back to his right. The Rangers tie it with a long double by Odor, but Conger, as a throw from Correa, cuts down Napoli, makes the big tag.
For a potential 2015 postseason run by reserving your 2016 season tickets today. Visit Astros.com/season tickets or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Astros coming off a big win, their 36th come from behind win this season, hoping to carry momentum, but the guys were telling me it's hard to carry momentum into a new city, a new state, and a new series. What it did, though, is give them a boost in a series that they felt they were playing okay. They just couldn't string together hits, couldn't get that big hit. So for them to have that big moment as a group, feeling much better as they got on the plane yesterday and, of course, arrived at the ballpark here today, guys.
Ball one to Jake Marisnick. And it's 2-0 to Jake at 235 with 9 homers. He has 32 runs batted in, getting the center field assignment in the absence of the injured Carlos Gomez tonight. Gomez has been hitting well. There's a shot to third. Beltre, one of the best, turns it into out number 1.
That topic that Julie is talking about, momentum, is one that I've talked with a number of players about. Nobody ever seems to have any kind of answer as to whether there's anything real about momentum. For me, what momentum in baseball is good pitching combined with good hitting. Some hot bats to kind of keep it going for the pitchers.
Excellent work by Beltre. And now it's George Springer batting. He rolled out to shortstop to open the game. The Astros are 31-29 within the American League West. Rangers are 25-34. Making pitch goes for ball 1 to George. Rangers have made quite a run to get to this point, going 32-18 since the 21st of July. In tight, and it's 2-0. Now it's really going to be fascinating for the fans of both these teams to watch these 7 games against each other. The way the divisional schedule is stacked is just perfect for fan enjoyment this September. Big cut. 2-1.
Hamels has so much confidence in that changeup. He falls behind 2-0 with fastballs and comes with the change and spots it beautifully. There's not a count in which Hamels, or maybe for that matter Kazmir, won't throw the change.
Fouled. 2-2. Yeah, they both really have a great feel for that pitch. That keeps the right-handed hitters honest.
Well, you saw what the fastball then looked like to George Springer after the changeup. Just way late on that heater.
Yes, and the batting average against the changeup of Hamels is .192. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Hamels has thrown his fastball 74% of the time recently to left-handed batters, but overall 50% of the time for the season.
Comes right back 3-2 with the changeup. I think he's got that belief that he can throw the change for a strike just as realistically as the fastball.
Springer chops it slowly. Beltre charging. 1 big bounce. Low throw. Moreland saves him. A throwing error. 2 outs.
Jose Altuve back in that first inning with 1 out, just quickly stepped up, got the heater he was looking for, and got just enough to get it out. But that would have seemed to be a real momentum creator.
He had gone 52 at bats since his previous home run, August 30th at Minnesota. That one made it 1-0, so a dozen homers for Altuve. It's the only hit allowed so far by Hamels. And this one goes foul up the right field line.
You talked about that nice pick by Moreland at first base on the ground ball hit by Springer, but if that ball gets by, Springer's likely on second base with 1 out.
Up the middle, Odor finds it. Altuve will reach. Odor unable to make the pickup on the backhand side.
Yeah, it's always a challenge with Altuve sprinting down the line, but that was a pure clank right there off the heel.
We'll let you know when the ruling is handed down. Carlos Correa hit the fly ball to center in the first inning. By the way, because of the error on Lowry dropping the pop-up hit by Fielder, the Texas run was unearned in the second inning. Altuve, a threat to run, has 37 steals, leading the American League. He's been caught 12 times. That ruling was an error, allowing Altuve to reach. That's the 16th on Odor. Rangers have made 104 errors this year, compared to the Astros 69. Jeff Bannister, though, in his media session before the game tonight, very pleased with the effort he has gotten from his team throughout the season. And Jeff talked in some of the articles after yesterday's game. The Rangers won it here 12-4 yesterday, about how good this was for the state of Texas for these two teams to be meeting under these circumstances in the month of September. Correa fouls it. 1-1. This will be the 40th pitch for Cole Hamels. It's deflected, and it gets through to center field. Altuve will head for third base. Correa is aboard, and the inning continues with Jed Lowry coming into the batter's box after the single by Correa.
Yeah, this ball had already hit the glove of Cole Hamels, so it slowed down and redirected, and that obviously created an issue for Andrus at short. Right there, the deflection. No issue for Jose Altuve, just sprinting all the way.
First and third for Lowry. Rasmus is on deck. Lowry's hit .318 as a right-handed batter this season coming into this game tonight. He looks at ball one. The Astros are in a stretch of games in which they are facing 5 left-handed starters in a row. They'll face Derek Holland tomorrow night. And then Martin Perez Wednesday night. That's a change as the Rangers flip-flop those two in their rotation today. 2-0, and Jeff Bannister was asked about that before the game tonight. He gave the reason that his top 2 pitchers will be working consecutively by moving up Holland. Holland will be pitching tomorrow night on regular rest rather than an extra day rest. And then Perez will follow him. So that's a tough assignment back-to-back for Astros hitters. And for a strike, it's 2-1.
And an intriguing series where the Astros see nothing but left-handers on the hill.
And then Colby Lewis, the right-hander, follows up as he draws Lance McCullers Thursday night. It's Keuchel and Perez Wednesday and McHugh and Holland tomorrow night.
But if part of that equation of being on a roll, having momentum, is having good pitching, Colin McHugh and on down that line for the Astros should put them in a good spot.
2-2. This will be the 20th pitch of the inning for Hamels. Hamels has worked 200 innings or more 6 times in his career. He's won at least 10 games in 6 different seasons. In the postseason, he's 7-4 with a 3.09 career ERA. And some made the trip up from Houston. Some live right here in Dallas. It's been called for years the battle for the silver boot, and it's much more than that here in 2015.
Yeah, the silver boot isn't even really a mention now with this series and like you said, the remaining 7 games between these two teams. It's about winning this division.
Strikeout for Hamels. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error, 2 left. 1-1 in the third.
Honda dealer. Here are your clues for the day. It was a 22nd round pick in the 1990 draft. College coach was Wayne Graham. 3-time All-Star. Tweet us your best guess. I have a feeling the tweets are about to come flooding in. What do you think, guys?
Oh, yeah. You know that.
Thanks, Julia. 1-1 game. We go to the last of the third inning. We have a report on Carlos Gomez. We'll get to that in a moment. Chris Jimenez leads it off. Jimenez with 5 homers, 11 runs batted in, has a .254 batting average. He's been productive lately. There's ball 1. Jimenez has 4 homers and 6 runs batted in his last 15 games. He was a AAA Round Rock where he was a handyman kind of player. Did some catching, played some first, some third, and some right field. But he's been needed behind the plate for the Rangers. In for a strike. We have a report that Jeff Luhnow, the Astros general manager, who is on the trip, he's here tonight, has said that Carlos Gomez will miss the next 3 games with a slight intercostal strain. 3-1 to Jimenez. It's a full count. Kazmir was pitcher of the month in the American League in July, and the 3rd lowest ERA in July in Major League history, in fact. There's a leadoff walk. First walk of the night for Kazmir. Fastball against Texas has really been devastating with a 104 batting average and 158 against his cutter. So for some reason, much more effective against the Rangers for those 2 pitches than against the other teams he's faced.
That's something how statistically you find the anomalies along the way. Usually ball clubs and their fans are saying, why does it happen to us?
Lowry's in tight at third base. DeShields took one right down the middle for strike 3 in the first inning. There's one on the outside edge for strike 1. Even though the combination of run support and everything else going well, fielding support has not been there to give Kazmir more than 2 wins for Houston. The whole starting staff has been bolstered by his trade to Houston. That's fouled on a bunt try. No balls, 2 strikes. In fact, since he joined the Astros rotation, Astros starting staff has the best ERA in the majors, 2.89. This will be his 40th pitch of the night coming up. Much more comfortable than it might be on a different September night in Arlington, Texas. Not as much humidity, and the breeze has really cooled this ballpark.
I'd be curious the last year that it was this pleasant this time of year.
Exactly. It's 1-2 to DeShields. And the Astros definitely are expecting him to pull any ground ball that he hits. He strikes out for the 2nd time tonight. That's number 3 for Kazmir.
Fastball at 91 survives. And I don't know if it's because of the effectiveness of the changeup to this point, but that's a pretty good pitch to be able to handle.
Shin-Soo Choo grounded to shortstop, and he really ripped one. Correa made a terrific play to get him out. Jerry Fraley's a well-known writer in the Dallas area. He said Choo has been the major difference offensively in this Ranger club the second half of the season. He did not hit much at all. Somewhere around a 100 batting average for the month of April. But the last couple of months, he has been a different hitter and has a very high on base average for those last several weeks. He's hit by the pitch. And runners are at first and second with one out for Beltre now.
Yeah, HOU's the guy we talked about being a key for the Astros to be able to beat the Rangers because of how effective he has been offensively. You wonder if that might ultimately help. Conger probably got hit as hard and as much there as did Shin-Soo Choo. Catchers are just tougher by nature, that's all.
Yeah. Adrian Beltre worked the count full, grounding out to Jed Lowry in the first inning.
Hurts the hitter. Nothing for a catcher. Turns and says, is that a legal punch?
That floats high and outside, and it's 2-0 to Beltre. The Yankees do not have a hit. They're in the middle of the 7th inning at Tampa Bay. Erasmo Ramirez pitching for the Rays. 0-0, middle of the 7th. In for a strike. That makes it 2-1 to Beltre.
Fastball for Kazmir is not at a dominating velocity here this evening. It's going to have to stay right there on the edges.
Pick off at second is thrown into center field. Marisnik is throwing to third, and it's cut off by Correa. And both runners move up on the error by Kazmir. That's his 6th error of the year.
During spring training, when all the teams work on their pitchers' fielding drills, it's constantly drilled into the pitchers. Throw the ball right over the bag. And yet, it kind of becomes a football thing. You start trying to hit receivers on the move, and this is what results. You wonder if Jake Marisnik might not have had a better shot coming towards second base.
Right. Infielders in now. And that's in for a strike. 2-2. The middle infielders are halfway. Buena and Lowry closer than that.
Yeah. Kazmir and company catch a break with that one.
Fielders on deck. Popped up and fouled. Still 2-2 to Beltre. Beltre, with all the runs batted in he's had in his career, 1,439, is tied for 64th on the all-time RBI list. The 5th player to have that many runs batted in who plays primarily third base. Now Conger out for a moment with Kazmir.
Beltre to me is one of the guys currently playing that would not surprise me at all if he wound up in the Hall of Fame.
Sure. The Rangers in their all-time series with the Astros lead 75-47. And their record against Houston here at Globe Life Park is 38-22. Both these clubs vastly improved from a year ago when the Astros won 70 and the Rangers won 67. 4th full count for Kazmir tonight. In the air, and there's the first baseman Valbuena for a very big out for Kazmir. Out number 2 of the inning.
Beltre came into play tonight, leading the Rangers in RBIs in the month of September, but hitting for a low batting average, and that is such a key out.
Prince Fielder follows. He reached on the throwing error by Jed Lowry and scored in the second inning. Fielder has a career .296 average against the Astros with 26 homers, 88 runs batted in.
This is the guy, Prince Fielder, who tore up the rest of the season. September has torn him up.
A time is called. Fans thought maybe there was a balk called.
A.J. Hinch thought maybe one was called, and he was bolting out of the dugout.
Fielder looks at ball one. Prince is now 31 years old. Missed most of last year with a herniated disc. Did not play after May 16. He had missed one game the previous 5 years. That one almost clipped him. It's 2-0 with Napoli on deck.
A few weeks ago, Fielder was legitimately vying for the batting title. Now trying to stay over 300.
He's jammed on this one. A little flare to shallow left. Lowry with the catch. Big time job by Scott Kazmir. The runners at second and third and one out, getting Beltre and Fielder. Keep it tied 1-1, and Lowry's hurting.
Heritage Street Fest presented by Montejo. The Street Fest takes place on September 26th from 3 to 6 p.m. and includes live music, live Latin music, dance lessons, margaritas, and games. Fans must have a valid ticket to the Rangers versus Astros game to enter. For more information, visit astros.com/Hispanic Heritage or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Brownie.
Thanks, Julia. 1-1 game. We go to the fourth inning. Colby Rasmus in the box. He grounded out in the first against Cole Hamels. Strike one call. Hamels has 2 punch outs. He's given up 2 hits, an Altuve first inning homer and a Correa third inning single. Rangers have 2 hits off Kazmir. Hamels missing there. Creates a 1-1 pitch for himself with Gaddis on deck and Conger 2 up third in the inning. Hamels has a career ERA for the month of September, 3.00, sixth among active pitchers. And foul ball makes it 1-2. Rangers in April were 7-14. They were 7.5 games out of first by the end of the month. Punched over third base, and that's foul. I'm glad they got a shot at it. Still 1-2 on Colby Rasmus. And as for the Anaheim Angels, shall we call them that tonight? Shall it be the Los Angeles Angels?
Let's go with California. You got it all covered.
All right, let's do all of it. They'll be in Seattle later tonight. This will be the 50th pitch for Hamels. And even as disappointing as Los Angeles Angels loss was yesterday, they have Garrett Richards on the mound against Taijuan Walker later tonight in Seattle, and they'll know that if they win, they will gain ground on whoever loses this game. They're 4.5 out of first and still very much in the wild card picture. Rasmus hits that one out of play. Still 1-2 to Colby.
Yeah, I thought yesterday was potentially the signature moment for the Astros this year. Should they go on and win the division and have success? Could look back at that moment. For the Angels, a really tough one to swallow, but I thought it was larger on the win side for Houston than it was on the loss side for the Angels.
To right field, coming over, HOU near the line. Going down for Hamels. And Evan Gattis, who was born in Dallas, will be coming up next. Evan hit a fly ball to center going for the first pitch in the second inning. He is 3 for 10 against Hamels with 2 homers in his career. Jim has out to talk it over with his battery mate. Hamels threw his first career no-hitter July 25th at Wrigley Field. He was with the Phillies, and that made him the first pitcher in Major League history to throw a no-hitter in his last start before a midseason trade. One guess.
I bet the Phillies were thrilled about that. Talk about anything that might up the value of a guy.
Well, of course, they had been shopping him. It was pretty well understood that he would probably be moved. Rolled over and to the shortstop, Andrus. 2 outs. And Conger will come up. He struck out on a 3-2 count in the second inning. Hamels had not given up a homer in his previous 5 starts until Altuve hit one with 1 out in the first inning tonight.
I think there's that sense of a little extra tension, maybe a lot tonight on both these clubs' parts. Or maybe in reality it's with everybody else on the outside that considers themselves a fan and has a vested interest here.
It could be it too. Could be a nervous kind of year. 2 teams battled this deep into the season. Up the middle, Odor is positioned for it and takes care of it in a 10-pitch 4th inning for Hamels. 1-1. Your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic, herb, butter. Here in the Metroplex, it's a 1-1 tie. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning for Scott Kazmir. Cole Hamels allowed an Altuve first inning homer. Astros fans hoping that Kazmir can hold the line here in the fourth against Napoli, Moreland, and Andrews. Napoli singled in the second inning. He was thrown out at the plate. Marisnik to Correa to Conger, trying to score the go-ahead run on the double by Rougned Odor in the second inning after Fielder had scored the first run. Strike one from Kazmir, who had a 22-pitch third inning. Napoli takes a close one, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count to Mike. Napoli was drafted by the Angels, then he moved along to Toronto, and Texas got him for the first time in a trade in 2011. This is his second stint with this Ranger club, and the faithful here really remember what he did in 2011 when they went to the World Series. He hit .320 with 30 homers, 75 runs batted in, then hit a home run in the division series, and in the World Series he really exploded. 2 homers, 10 runs batted in. So that's the kind of pop Jeff Bannister welcomes to his lineup. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Napoli's 33 years old, from Hollywood, Florida. Whacks this one on the line. Marisnik cruising over. 1 out.
Grab your boots, belt buckles, and cowboy hats and head out to Minute Maid Park for summer, or rather for Boot, Scoot, and Barbecue this Saturday, September 19th. This event features a pregame street festival, barbecue contest, and country music. Fans must have a valid ticket to the Athletics versus Astros game to enter the festival. For more information, visit astros.com/barbecue.
It won't be a yawner, we promise. Mitch Moreland struck out in the second inning. And he fouls it back. There's strike one. Astros and Rangers, we mentioned earlier, started playing each other in 2001. And since then, they've had winning records in the same season once, in 2004. Last time they both went to the playoffs was in 1999. 1-1. There's a fair chance the 2 teams from the AL West will be going to the playoffs this year. Correa watches Altuve move to his right, and in front of him make that play for out number 2. Sometimes those 2 middle infielders really have to get a feel for who's going after that baseball, Ash.
You know, my feeling on that is the guy that plays naturally on that side of the infield, if he has the reasonable shot, is probably the guy that should take it.
Makes sense. That's exactly what happened. Elvis Andrews popped to second in the second inning. He looks at ball 1. Yankees still do not have a hit. They're still in the bottom of the 7th. Yankees nothing, Rays nothing. Bunting. It's up to Valbuena, and he will take care of it. Didn't place it quite well enough to butt his way on in a 10-pitch 4th inning. Kazmir gets them 1-2-3 to keep it tied at 1.
Hamels, and I asked A.J. Hinch why the decision to go with a couple of lefties against the left-hander, and he said against Cole Hamels, when you line up all righties like that and he gets his cutter and his changeup going, it could be a long night. So I wanted to mix in a couple of guys like that. Also, Valbuena getting the start at first over maybe Marwin Gonzalez, who's dealing with a swollen left finger, needed a day today, guys.
And now we have a new player in the mix who can play first and third. Matt Duffy has been promoted after being named MVP of the Pacific Coast League. Coming from Fresno to join this club tonight. Valbuena lined to third. This one in the air and behind second base, sending Andrus out to shallow center field, and you can see the effects of the wind there as he staggers around underneath it. Let's take you back to the 08 World Series, Phillies versus Rays. In game one, Hamels was the winner. 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. Kazmir pitched well, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. Was the tough luck loser, 3-2. In game 5, both got a no decision. Kazmir in 4 innings, walking 6, giving up 2 earned runs. Hamels a no decision, 6 innings, 2 earned runs himself. And the Phillies won both of Hamels' starts. Now Jake Marisnick with ball 1. Jake grounded out to third in the 3rd inning, and Beltre made a fine play on him as he made solid contact on a 2-0 pitch.
Valbuena apparently didn't want to give me time to talk much about his defense, but that bunt to end the previous half inning, perfectly played. Great footwork by Valbuena.
He's made that adjustment from third base to first base quite well during the season.
You know, we all think home runs when we think about Valbuena. To me, his defensive play this year, primarily at third base, has been exceptional.
2 balls, 2 strikes. That was a wicked offering. Looked like a wiffle ball on that pitch, Ash.
Get a hitter that gets fooled way out in front as Jake was, and it makes the pitch look impossible to handle.
Now 3-2.
You'd love to have this view as a hitter to be able to look into the glove. You can see when Hamels is going to throw the changeup, he gets all the fingers wrapped around the baseball, but he's really effective with it.
5th full count for Hamels. And that's bashed into left field. Napoli back. It sails over his head. It bangs off the wall, kicks back toward the center fielder to Shields, and that is a hard hit double by Jake Marisnick.
And that was ever so close to the Astros having 12 guys with 10 or more home runs.
That would be a major league record.
Looked like another changeup that just kind of sits right there in the heart of the plate, and I think Jake was sizing that up to begin with. Is that ball going to get out of here? A little bit to the right, and that goes over the 390.
It's his 13th double. Hit number 3 for the Astros. George Springer will try to drive him home. Springer was grounded out both times. They appealed at first that he missed the base, and the Rangers don't get the call. Umpires are the balks. On the appeal, they didn't execute it properly, and the balk was called on Hamels. So not only do they not get the out that he missed first, but now he's on third.
On that appeal, you have to step off the rubber, and I wasn't watching that closely on Hamels, but got to step off and leave it as a dead ball. See what Hamels does here. No, you can't do that.
He didn't step off. You're right.
That's a pickoff move to a base where there's no base runner.
That's why it's a balk. Unoccupied base. Now that forces the infield to come in, and Springer bats with a runner at third and 1 out. Strike 1 to George.
Yeah, that was heads up on the part of the umpires. Yeah, usually you don't teach touching the base with your hand going around, but
well, as long as he touched it, and he did. That's why they appealed. There's a play at the plate. Moreland throwing, and the tag. Safe! Marisnick got in. Jimenez unable to tag him, and the Astros lead it 2-1 as Marisnick somehow avoided being tagged.
He is a spectacular athlete. And I'm not sure why Jerry Davis waited to look at the base runner. That's typically what an umpire does, to look at the catcher in this case to see if he held onto the baseball. But look at what Jake does. And it just took too long at home plate for Jimenez to even try to make a tag. I'm not sure he ever did.
It looked like he tagged him.
Jake had to make up some ground right there, and he made up a load. And you can see there never was a tag.
Oh, that's phenomenal, Jake.
So ultimately, had that had to be reviewed for the Astros, an easy run scored on that one. Jake Marisnick gets all of that.
And he also gets an RBI for George Springer on a ground ball to a pulled-in first baseman. Springer gets his 30th run batted in. It's 2-1 Houston, and Altuve bats. Marisnick created that run. Altuve has a homer, and he reached on an error. And the balk really played into the inning.
Oh, absolutely. Big play.
You know, we talk so often about experienced players in a pennant race, people who have pitched in World Series before, things of that nature. And Cole Hamels, who has had that World Series experience, called for a balk, but failing to step off the rubber on an appeal play at first base. Very costly here in the 5th inning.
Yeah, that's an intriguing point, because to me, I can think Carlos Correa doesn't have the load of experience, but he's got the instincts and knows the game.
In for a strike, and it's 2-1.
To me, that's a very individualistic kind of a comment you have to make on guys, as opposed to the wide coverage that says rookie versus veteran.
Yeah. Postseason experience immediately translates to mistake-free play in a pennant race. Not always. Now this could be a time when Springer will run. And a lot of teams like to strike this way. After taking the lead, they try to exploit a little bit further by getting the running game going.
You know, that was a pretty good at bat by George Springer, despite the fact that it was handled in the infield, going the other way, hitting it sharply.
True. And certainly it appears that the Rangers' expectations are strong that Springer would be running here. He's 14 for 18 in steals. The Astros this season are 12 for 12 in stolen bases against the Rangers.
That's a surprising figure for me, because Robinson Chirinos did much of the early catching this year. Very good throwing receiver.
Yes, he is. Altuve out in front. It's flared out to left field. Napoli coming in. Andrews looking out to the left fielder, who gets there, and he drops it. Now Springer into second base, and Napoli, playing only his second professional game in left field, fails to catch the fly ball.
Look, anybody can drop one. We saw that with Jed Lowry earlier in the ball game, but the odds seem highly stacked against Mike Napoli trying to make his debut out in left field in a big scenario like we have going on tonight. And he flat out whiffed in terms of trying to get this in the pocket. Watch this. It hits the backside of the glove.
Sure did. Admittedly, not a great night to be playing your second game in left field with the swirling winds here in Arlington. But now Cole Hamels takes a little walk before making his 70th pitch. Second error of the night for the Rangers. Carlos Correa will try to capitalize. He's 1 for 2.
You know, we saw earlier in the game with Mitch Moreland making a great pick at first base. Maybe why he's there, but he does have outfield experience, and Mike Napoli is much more a first baseman than an outfielder.
Correa takes a strike. This base running combination of Springer and Altuve can create some havoc. Jonathan VR has come out to the on-deck circle. Jed Lowry due up next, but he is hurting right now. Odor backs up, takes the hop. There's a little toss to Andrus, and safe at first. It was difficult with the way the ball bounced to Odor, and that second bounce really cost them the double play. Correa able to beat the relay from Andrus into first and keep the inning going.
Carlos Correa doesn't beat this because he's a veteran or a rookie. He beats it because he's good and he runs well. And a lot of times, to me, it's more about and less about intangibles and more about the tangibles. How good of a player is this guy?
So Correa's on at first with Rich Dower, the coach, talking with him. And across the diamond, it's George Springer at third. The pinch hitters being announced for Jed Lowry, Jonathan VR. VR started at third yesterday in Anaheim, and he went 1 for 4 in that game. And Lowry leaving with an apparent leg injury. We take a look at Bringing the Lumber, brought to you by Yellowwood.
Jed Lowry with the big home run, the grand slam against Minnesota last Sunday. And the Astros left home, headed out on the road with that propelling them, momentum on their side. And not always, but then came yesterday. Pinch hitter, 2 aboard, 9th inning, 2 outs. And just gets it out somehow beyond the glove of Calhoun in right field. And the Astros win an improbable one, 5-3. Momentum on their side? Maybe.
So now in this big situation, it's VR pinch hitting. Switch hitter pinch hitting for another. VR takes, and it's strike 1 to Jonathan, who's become a handyman during the course of this season and developed those skills even further at AAA, hitting .272 with the Astros, 2 homers, 9 runs batted in. He's on a 4-game hitting streak.
If Jonathan VR, in my assessment, could bat from the right side, facing lefties all the time, he'd hit you a load of home runs.
Runner takes off for second. That's a towering shallow fly ball. Chu coming in right, still coming in toward the infield for out number 3. And the Astros grab the lead. Jake Marisnick making some things happen with his legs and the outstretched left arm. Houston goes in front here in the 5th inning, 2-1.
We're talking defense, and Now, we said earlier in the ballgame that he's been challenged quite a few times recently, coming up with the plays. Then there's Jake Marisnick, as good as anybody in center field. Helped the Astros cut down a would-be run from the Rangers at the plate. And a couple of guys, youngsters, really getting it done defensively.
Now the shift is on. Now we have Jonathan Villar, who took over at third base after pinch hitting for Jed Lowry. Lowry leaving with a left shin contusion. Villar the only infielder between second and third. And Odor's the batter, showing butt. And taking that pitch, it's ball one for Scott Kazmir, who leads now 2-1. Odor ripped a double to straightaway center field. And Fielder scored on that double. This time a bouncer, and it goes right to Valbuena. One out for Kazmir in the home fifth. Kazmir in his second outing against the Rangers this season as an Astro. He lost here 4-3 August 5th, giving up 4 runs, but only 1 was earned in 5 2/3 innings. He made an error, and Conger made an error. So not everything was well in terms of fielding support there either. And Astros surviving a couple of errors in the first 3 innings tonight.
That was bad throw to first night for the Astros.
That's true, it was. Both those throws were to first, weren't they? It's ball one to Jimenez. That's hit to right field toward the corner. Springer on the run. 2 outs. And that series here in August, a lot of things went poorly for the Astros. They got swept by the Rangers August 3rd through the 5th. They lost a couple of 4-3 games after dropping the opener 12-9. Well, the Rangers have had their way. In fact, they've swept 2 3-game series from the Astros this season. 1 here and 1 in Houston. DeShields is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts.
It's been about 5 weeks ago. That's hard to believe that much time has elapsed. Since you made an unnecessary trip to Texas, to Arlington, I should say.
And unwelcome.
No, you were certainly welcome. It was just a bit of a surprise.
Strike 2 to Shields. Well, somebody didn't know he wasn't supposed to be working that night. There's a shot into left field. And DeShields is aboard now with a 2-out hit. That's the 3rd hit of the night for the Rangers. Shields with 22 stolen bases in 29 tries, ranks 5th in the American League. Chu was the batter. Chu hit that bullet to shortstop. Correa got him in the 1st, and then he was hit by a pitch in the 3rd inning.
Well, you got to believe that the Rangers have to be at very least thinking about the running game right here.
Pretty good lead for DeShields. Kazmir checks in with the throw. Chu had always been a high on base average type of hitter. And in fact, with Cleveland, he hit 300 in 3 consecutive years, 08 through 2010. Had a 282 career batting average coming into this season. 383 on base average, so his very slow start was a major surprise, especially after the Rangers shelled out $130 million on a 7-year contract to add him to their club last year, and then he probably hit 242
and played a bad outfield.
Other than that, though, everything was fine.
And deal was considered nice even mix.
Well, he's made up for it the last couple of months. The Rangers have liked what they've seen since the All-Star break. He's hit .326 to lead their club. Broken bat. BR back for the pop-up to take care of it. And in the 5th inning, it took 8 pitches for Kazmir to get 3 outs and maintain a 2-1 lead through 5. seasons, going from 95 in 2011 to 198, including the Altuve long ball tonight. Major improvement in the power department.
Never stop improving, huh? So if you keep improving at this pace, how long is it going to take for the Astros to set the all-time record?
Well, remember, they set the National League record in 2000. They hit 249 long balls that year. That would seem to be out of reach for this season, but nonetheless an impressive figure. Colby Rasmus is 0 for 2, 2-1 Houston. And there's strike one. Much has been made of the Astros' prowess and dependence on long balls. They got one from Altuve in the first tonight. It's a foul ball, and it's no balls, 2 strikes. The Erasmo Ramirez no-hit bid was broken up by Carlos Beltran in the 8th inning, and the Yankees and Tampa Bay Rays are still scoreless in the bottom of the 8th. CC Sabathia giving New York a good 6 2/3 innings of 3-hit shutout ball.
So, Brownie, you talked about the Astros. 2000 was the year when the Astros hit a National League record, 249 home runs. In the American League, the 97 Seattle Mariners hit 264.
Ooh. It's out to center field. DeShields coming in for it, and that loops in for a hit. Colby Rasmus aboard. He's 1 for 3.
Kick off your weekends at Minute Maid Park. Every Friday night home game is followed by the best fireworks show in town, presented by Marathon Oil. The next Friday night fireworks is this Friday. That's September 18th, when the Astros take on the A's. For more information, visit astros.com/fireworks, or you can call 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Evan Gattis steps up. He's fly to center and grounded to short. Right side of the infield is open for him. He takes strike one from Hamels. Not only are these two clubs squarely in contention, but their AAA affiliates will be meeting starting tomorrow night for the championship in the Pacific Coast League. No balls, 2 strikes. Fresno and Round Rock start a best-of-5 series tomorrow night. Fresno winning 84 times for a club record this year. The 80th pitch is lined into right field. Rasmus will move to third base. Here's the strong arm of Chu. It's cut off. No, it's not cut off. It looked like Elvis had cut it off, but faked me out, and it went on to third base. Rasmus beating the throw by Chu, and that was a rifle shot from Chu in right. He's known for his strong arm.
Colby Rasmus can get it, and he was getting it between second and third. And the fact that it was one of those throws that could be cut was the probably the factor that kept Evan Gattis at first, or maybe it was just lack of speed between first and second. For Evan, it's all about second to third. There you see Colby.
Beltre didn't catch it, but that throw was right on the money on one bounce. Excellent job by Andrews of trying to make sure there was no further advance.
No, one of the things you say in baseball is keep pecking away, keep putting runs on the board.
Ground ball to third. Beltre to Odor. Odor on to Moreland for a double play.
But what I was going to say is sometimes forget the pecking away and have a big inning, because the team that has the big inning typically wins a major league game. But that double play is a killer. I wonder if Colby Rasmus had taken off on contact, would Beltre have come to the plate? I certainly would assume so. But he made a great reaction to turn and get that double play.
Luis Valbuena will try to deliver Rasmus. The Astros 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position in this game. Valbuena lined hard to third in the second inning. Popped short in the fifth. That one hit him. Been a painful night for some of these Astros hitters. Jed Lowry left with a left shin contusion. He was hit by a pitch and he fouled a ball off his left leg, and now Valbuena's hit by this pitch.
How many players will play from first pitch to last here this evening? That's what it's starting to look like. He's got big hit on his mind right there on that wrist area. Remember the pad Jeff Bagwell would wear in that area?
Yes.
Let's see exactly where this hits.
Like it was right where the hand joins the wrist there, Ash.
That'll mess up most evenings.
That's all bone. Now runners at first and third, and it's Jake Marisnick who ripped a double to left center in the 5th inning, almost hitting a homer. And he scored in the 5th for the go-ahead run. He's 1 for 2. Hit the ball pretty well to third base his first time up in the 3rd inning as well. George Springer's on deck. Good cut, and it's strike 1 foul by Marisnick. Astros have 5 hits. The Rangers have 3. Each club with 2 errors tonight. Houston has left 5. Texas has stranded 4. It's 1-1. Rays lead the Yankees 1-0 now in the bottom of the 8th inning. One ball, 2 strikes to Jake Marisnick. Formerly with the Marlins, he has served the Astros very well. Jake's had 304 bats this season. Hamels gets a strikeout and gets out of first and third, nobody out, trouble in the 6th inning. Astros are up 2-1 in the 6th.
2 home runs and driving in 6 runs in that one.
20-game winners for the Astros. Mike Hampton with that big 22-win season in '99 when the Astros clinched on the final day. Jose Lima, Joe Niekro won 21, and then you see the 20-game winners. Larry Durker threw 300 innings in 120. Probably are not going to see that again. Here's Adrian Beltre, 2-1 Houston. There is strike one.
I'm sure he never went over 105 pitches in any one of those games.
Beltre is grounded to third and popped to first.
Is that why he walks like his right arm's about a foot longer than his left these days?
Yeah. You probably read the stories about famous lefty screwball pitcher Carl Hubble, and they said his arm, his hand would face away from his body when he walked down the street because he threw so many screwballs.
I had Warren Spahn as a pitching coach on an Indians club I was on. And of course, Warren had that great screwball.
That was hit pretty hard over in that direction.
What about Mike Marshall, who pitched about 180 innings one year as the closer of the Dodgers?
Out to left field. Colby Rasmus. One out. Yeah, those days are gone, aren't they? He won 15 one year. And the Cy Young Award. Racked up, 200 some odd innings in relief.
Was it Elroy Face of the Pirates once upon a time as a closer? It was really not labeled as such back then, but I think he won about 16, 18 one year.
He went 18-1 one year. Amazing.
He had one bad night, huh?
Prince Fielder reached on an error and scored. He's 0 for 2. Grounds this one, and that hops right by a diving Altuve into right center field for a single for Fielder.
Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And there's not a whole lot left. 3 more here with the Texas Rangers. The Astros then head back home. Take on the Oakland A's for 3, the Angels for 3, then an off day. And these Texas Rangers come in for 3 more, so there's 9 more home games. At that point, 3 in Seattle, an off day, and 3 in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. And that's going to do it for the regular season.
Mike Napoli is 1 for 2. 1 to Napoli. It's one of 19 remaining games for the Astros. The Rangers have 20 games left, including this one. Into chanting. Big cut by Napoli, and it's 1-1.
That's what the Napoli chant sounds like.
Napoli in his career is now 2 for 16 against Kazmir. He reaches for that changeup, hits it off the end of the bat, and Colby Rasmus puts it away in left field. 2 outs. These pitchers are similar in style with a lot of fastball changeup combinations, and 75% of the time Kazmir throws either fastball or changeup. Hamill's almost identical with that selection of pitches, so it's interesting, and they were both drafted just a few slots apart the same year, pitched against each other in the World Series. A real study of parallels with these two guys in similar styles tonight.
First game we saw Kazmir in an Astros uniform this year, his fastball was in that 93 to 95 range. That's where Hamill's has been throughout the evening. Kazmir coming up shy.
Moreland with a good rip, fouls it back. He struck out and grounded out. Rangers unloaded yesterday. They scored 12 runs and won it 12-4 at home. That's hit a long way to left field over Rasmus. Rasmus way back. And that one will give the Rangers the lead. Opposite field, 2-run shot by Moreland. Number 20. 3-2 Texas.
Why do you put those left-handers in against lefties? Yeah, sometimes they're the guys that come up with the big swings. See what led to this. Fastball out over the plate, and a lot of times with those big guys, they'll talk about wanting to be able to extend their arms, and that's exactly what Moreland does. Just full extension through the baseball. And at that point, you start begging. First row, just like the Altuve dinger.
Andrews taking, and it's 1-0 to him. 15th long ball surrendered by Kazmir. In 170 innings. Fly ball to right. Springer over. 2 runs on 2 hits, and the Rangers are in front 3-2 after 6. Two balls, no strikes.
Yeah, for me, if I could see George in the perfect world, he'd still be getting on base. But I'm more concerned about the slugging side and driving in the runs, because I think George Springer could be one of the guys that drives in 100 plus.
It's 2-1.
By the way, Gene Diaz, the great PR guy with the Astros, sets us straight on Mike Marshall. 208 innings, 21 saves, 106 appearances in 74. 212 innings, rather.
Phenomenal year. Strike, and it's 2-2.
That's what closers were all about.
Yes. Struck him out. Number 4 for Hamels.
It's time now for the TXU Energy Power Player of the Game. Of course, it's Jose Altuve. First inning, 1 out. slams one to left field and got the Astros on the board 1-0 at the time. The Astros need some more of that type of swing throughout the evening. You never know, Brownie. First win of this series could set the tone for the series.
Possible. Altuve is 1 for 3. Ground ball hit into center field. Well, he has a homer and a single, and he's reached on 2 errors tonight. Just punched that one and punched it hard up the middle.
Well, now you're in the final 3 innings, and maybe it's time for the Astros to consider that running game.
Correa fans hoping Carlos can come through, as he did in the 3rd inning with a single up the middle. He's 1 for 3. Now that's a possibility with Altuve at first. Perhaps try to buy a fastball to Correa by putting Altuve in motion. And it's a 1-0 count, so this could be a good time if that is the plan for the Astros with Altuve at first.
Cole Hamels on the hill for Texas has allowed 5 stolen bases in 5 tries.
Two 6-2 for Houston, 3-5-2 for Texas. Correa looks at ball 2. The Astros have stranded 7. The Rangers have left 4. Hamels coming up to the 95 pitch mark tonight. Ranger bullpen has been good. Correa works the count to 3-0. They've redone their bullpen on the fly during this season, and they really like what they have right now.
Correa takes wisely, it would seem, a pitch down and away.
Jake Diekman, a lefty, just getting loose. 3-1.
Hamels doesn't want to give in here on Carlos Correa. Makes me realize he's a pretty intelligent guy.
Okay. And it's a full count to Carlos Correa. Ranger fans are into it in game 1 of a 4-game series. Derek Holland will take the mound tomorrow night against Colin McHugh in game 2. Beltre throwing to second, low throw. Odor saves him an error, and then Moreland saves Odor in error. So that's an interesting play, putting Correa at first with 2 outs.
Adrian Beltre is generally one of the game's elite defensive third basemen. Tonight, he could have had a couple of very ugly and costly errors if not for the help of his teammates. Well, that's a heck of a play by Odor. And then Moreland just continues to do the pick work. Wow. Put that throw in right field. Potentially runners at second and third, maybe first and third.
Excellent play by Odor. And the toss goes over to first. That's just a lob with Jonathan Villar batting. Villar unloaded that big home run at Oakland earlier on the road trip.
It was a no-doubter.
Around the body takes, and there's ball 1. Villar came up in the 7th inning at Oakland. That was the game that Oakland won 10-9. And he hit a massive home run off Felix Dubront, batting right-handed. Pitch number 100 is next for Hamels. 1-1. The Astros' depth is being tested with the injuries. Carlos Gomez to miss a few games. He's at 100 now, 68 strikes, very high percentage of strikes from Hamels. Hamels has hit 2 batters, but he has not walked a man.
Sometimes known as effectively wild.
VR tops it foul. Ranger fans are standing. A close one, 2-2. And now a full count for Cole Hamels, and Correa will be taking off on the next pitch with a 3-2 count and 2 outs. Hamels is signed through 2018. Keone Kela is warming up for the Rangers, a right-hander in their pen. Colby Rasmus on deck. Correa sets sail, and it's a foul ball.
Not the best of jumps down at first base by Correa.
Must be afraid of getting picked off.
Yeah, you have to make sure you wait until that pitch is headed toward home plate. But you also want to be able to score on the gapper.
This will be the 9th pitch to VR. And he fouls that one.
Dave, he's getting some good swings. He's got the power stroke on the right side.
Kela's getting loose.
See that grip on the split finger right there.
Baltimore down Boston 2-0 in Baltimore tonight. Kevin Gausman winning his 3rd. Zach Britton getting his 33rd save. Another big 3-2 offering coming from Hamels. And it's ball 4. VR really having a great plate appearance there. Taking the walk and bringing up Rasmus.
Cole Hamels acting like a pitcher who believed he was wronged with that call. Let's see if he was. Trying to work inside. He brings it inside and did not deserve a call. But you can see the frustration on Hamels' part.
Pitching coach Mike Maddox comes out. And with Kela, the right-hander, getting loose, Hamels could stay in facing Rasmus to make it a lefty-on-lefty matchup. Then Gaddis would follow. Rasmus is 1 for 3 tonight. So maybe one more batter for Cole. 6 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs allowed. Rasmus has grounded to second, fly to right, and single to center. Houston 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight. That's ball 1 to Colby. Washington and Philadelphia are tied 6-6. They're in the top of the 10th inning in Philly.
Brownie, it's time for the big swing.
Ooh, this would be a great spot. Rasmus fouling it, and he'll get another bat. It's 1-1 to Colby. Well, you and Blummer talked about that yesterday. Boy, Little did you realize those two big swings in the ninth inning would come in the fashion that they did.
Yeah, well, I think I did some begging well before that ninth inning. I didn't realize you had to wait till 2 outs and 2 strikes into the ninth.
Well, you're starting a little earlier now. In tight, 2-1. In Derek Holland, who starts tomorrow night. The Rangers will have a pitcher who has not thrown all that many innings this year because of his injury. And that could play well for them with the remaining part of the season. He will be making only his 7th start. In for a strike, pickoff throw to second. And a good play by Andrus on that throw in the dirt from Jimenez. 2-2 now.
Not all hitters actually like to hit the hanger. You hear about that all the time. When you get a hanger, that's time to crush it. But Colby got a hanger.
He stays alive. OVR really had a tremendous plate appearance, drawing that walk, working the count full. Correa had a full count. Now Rasmus is really battling here. This is really a quality of these Astros hitters we've commented on many times throughout the year. For some reason, the later the game gets, the more their at-bats improve. 6th pitch coming to Rasmus. And now it is full.
Kudos to Jerry Davis for not giving in to the home crowd scenario. Pitch clearly off the plate.
And the runners are ready to take off. Rasmus with a hot shot, and that gets through into right field. Here's Correa coming home to tie it at 3. And VR back to third base. And a ball really hit hard at Moreland. He took it off the chest and it caromed on through into right field. And the Astros have tied it at 3. That ball jumped off his bat.
Just scalded. And if Moreland came up with that, then you almost have to feel like it's not your night. That's a heck of a job by Colby Rasmus, staying in and creating that scenario where he could get that big hit.
And it was.
Well, if that ball scoots on by without being touched by Moreland, then you got the double in the corner.
RBI single for Rasmus. That's his 50th run batted in. Moreland really prepared for it. You could see his footwork. He was balanced. He was ready, but that was a shot. He took that one off the body, and now it's 1st and 3rd for Gaddis. Gaddis 1 for 3.
Okay, do I ask for another big hit?
Go ahead.
Or was one request enough?
VR is taking off from 3rd and drawing some attention.
My attention at that point went to the footwork of Cole Hamels, because that's where a guy can really make some mistakes.
And VR is not shy about trying to steal home. We've seen him do that before. Gaddis pumps one in the air to left center field for DeShields. And the Astros tie it with a run on 2 hits, leaving 2. It's 3-3 in the 7th.
There the Astros are. Texas Rangers and Angels. And of course, we kind of know that story by now. In the wild card, Yankees have the edge. Rangers are in there, but the Twins are continuing to make noise. Angels suffered a big defeat yesterday, in case you hadn't heard. Twins just keep on trying to hang in there. They're acting like a team that belongs in the postseason.
They are just one behind Texas. Angels and Mariners, no score. Bottom of the first inning in Seattle. And Scott Kazmir is warming up to face the Rangers in a 3-3 game in the bottom of the 7th inning. Odor, Jimenez, and DeShields due up for Texas. Will Harris, the right-hander, working in the Houston bullpen as Kazmir goes back to the mound. Odor ripped an RBI double to dead center field off him in the 2nd inning. He is 1 for 2. Nationals lead the Phillies 7-6 on the top of the 10th inning. Jason Worth has had a big game, driving in 5 and hitting 2 homers, including a grand slam. Odor takes it, and it's strike 1. Odor, from July 17th, you see Will Harris there, through yesterday, has hit .297 with a .555 slugging percentage. So the little second baseman has been unloading, and in fact, he's had a .556 slugging percentage the last 2 months against left-handed pitching. He lines this one foul. 1-2.
I think Odor has made himself one of the truly dangerous bats in this Rangers order.
He's batting 8th.
You go Chu, Beltre, Fielder, Moreland in particular, and then add Odor, and that's a tough lineup to get through.
He grounds this one to Correa. Set up perfectly out of the shift to take care of out number 1. And Jimenez will follow. Jimenez walked in the 3rd, hit a fly ball to right in the 5th.
Coming up this September 26th, Saturday, it's Badges and Bases. Get your running shoes on and join us for the Badges and Bases 5K, 10K run at Minute Maid Park. Kids 12 and under can enter the Kids Fun Run, and all the participants must receive a commemorative or will receive a commemorative T-shirt. For more information, visit astros.com/run.
Strike 1 to Jimenez. And that one goes to Correa, who falls, gets up, and throws from a knee. How spectacular is that play?
We talked about his D along with that of Jake Marisnick earlier, but this young man is so big and so talented. All-out charge on that ball. I guess he thought he could catch it in the air. That left him off balance, but still with the tools to get the play done.
No panic. Now DeShields, he's 1 for 3. In the air, the infielders converge. VR's coming in, but here's Conger behind the plate, and the wind took it. It appeared right back into the screen for strike 1.
Yeah, there's no mistake about that. No wind, that ball will come right back towards center field. That's spotting it late for Hank, and that really forces him to have to hard charge. It's going to be a lot of ice needed in the clubhouse after the game.
Boy, it's a bruising game tonight.
Keep in mind, Hank already took a foul tip in the ribs.
With the increased starts behind the plate, increased injury factor. 1 ball, 1 strike.
But also that increased home run total. He's shown he can hit it.
One ball, 2 strikes to DeShields.
Maybe starting to see some guys trying to be that one swing hero.
Delano's 23 years old, born in Gaston, Georgia. He was the 8th player drafted in 2010. And he strikes out to end the 7th inning. Kazmir has a 1-2-3 frame. A 10-pitch 7th inning for Scott Kazmir, and a 3-3 score through 7.
As the Texas Rangers point in that direction and bring on Jake Diekman, hard-throwing left-hander, in his 61st game of the year. Even though he throws hard, that ERA approaching 4.5. You can see the strikeouts reflect his stuff. 65 of them in 53 innings.
Yeah, he was a part of that bullpen makeover. And he certainly has done well, as you could see. And twice he's pitched against the Astros. 2 scoreless innings, 2 holds, and 4-3 wins for Texas here August 4th and 5th. Lefty from Wymore, Nebraska, came along with Cole Hamels in that trade in July for prospects, really top-level prospects. Keone Kela is up again in the bullpen for Texas. Cole Hamels leaving after 7 innings of 7-hit 3-run baseball. Walking 1, fanning 4, hitting 2 batters, throwing 114 pitches, and committing a balk. And Conger is 0 for 3. Strike 1 to Conger. The bullpen for Texas has given up 10 runs in its last 41 and 2/3 innings for a 2.16 ERA for 15 games. Upstairs from Diekman, it's 1-1. Oliver Perez is warming up for Houston. It's 2 balls and a strike. Interesting baseball game tonight between the first and second place clubs in the AL West, while the Angels are underway in Seattle. No score there in the 2nd inning. Conger hits a fly ball to right. Chu coming over. Puts it away, 1 out. And Luis Valbuena comes up with Marisnick on deck. Valbuena's 0 for 2 and was hit by a pitch. Diekman with the Phillies had an ERA of 5.15. The trade has amounted to a much improved performance from Jake Diekman, who was a 30th round pick of the Phillies in 07. He deals strike 1. Left-handed hitters have hit .375 against Diekman. In for strike 2. 3-7-2 for Houston with 9 men stranded. 3-5-2 for Texas with 4 left on base. Valbuena just punched that one foul. 2-strike approach there. He lined hard to third base, caught by Beltre in the second inning. Odor's trying to take a hit away in shallow right field. But it's not the type of shift that puts the shortstop on the first base side. He's over on the third base side. And that could be because of the scouting of Valbuena the last few weeks. He's hit more balls between second and third, Ash.
It's a stroke we saw a lot back in spring training. Looked like he might be one of those guys that could hit for high average and then hit the occasional home run. But he's turned into the guy that hits a lot of home runs and not so much for the average.
With that arm angle, Diekman is a test for a left-handed batter, even though they have hit well against him. There's ball 1 in the dirt.
Kind of hard to figure. A little bit extreme on that pitch, and Valbuena was starting the batter early. Not a good scenario.
Last year with the Phillies, Diekman pitched 73 times and struck out 100 in 71 innings. The tap goes foul, and it kind of looks like a version of Chris Sale, the way he comes at the hitter from that low arm angle, Ash.
Long and lanky, not as funky as Sale. What about the Minnesota Twins, the way they handle Chris Sale? It's really amazing. He is the guy that I look at as probably most or least desirable to hit against in the league.
Yes, sir. Valbuena smacks one foul.
You know, when this kind of pitcher leaves a fastball toward the inside corner for a left-hand hitter who's already kind of bailing and kind of swinging in that area only, that's the one pitch you can handle. You leave it right in there, that's a big mistake for that lefty.
Valbuena's down on strikes, 2 outs. 5th strikeout for Ranger pitching, and Marisnick will bat.
So after pitch number 7, which was in the wheelhouse of a bailing left-handed hitter, you just start flipping it out toward the plate, maybe toward the outside corner, and what turns out to be an easy strikeout.
Marisnick doubled, took third on a balk, and scored on a Springer ground ball to first. Here's ball 1. Jake 1 for 3. Will Harris has resumed his work in the Astros bullpen along with Oliver Perez. Angels got a run in the second to lead 1-0 on the Mariners. 1 ball, 1 strike. Taijuan Walker pitching for Seattle against Garrett Richards. And the run scored on a double play ball hit by Eric Ibar. That came in, and it's 2 balls and a strike.
Jake had that really good long ball stroke with the double he had earlier. Love to see him find that on a semi-regular basis.
2-2 to Jake. Jake Diekman versus Jake Marisnick. Very enjoyable game tonight in Arlington, Texas. 3-3 in the 8th.
Well, the weather also playing a big part of that.
Delightful weather. Lower humidity than we often see here. Inside almost got him. And it's a full count. George Springer's on deck. 78.
Yeah, Bronny, it is a good game. It's not one of those immaculate games, 2 errors on each side, but well pitched.
That's ball 4, and Marisnick is aboard with 2 outs for George Springer. And it looks as if there will be a pitching move made by Jeff Bannister. Keone Kela has been warming up, and he will be getting the call here from Jeff. That creates a righty-on-righty matchup for the Rangers skipper. We'll be right back. 3-3.
Baseball is with MLB.com. At Bat, the #1 live app for baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcast, and more. Get the MLB.com At Bat app now.
Right-hander Keone Kela in 62 games is 6-5 with 18 holds and a 2.59 ERA. He's pitched really well against the Astros. Scoreless baseball for 4 appearances this season. George Springer's the batter. Strike one.
George looking for that first pitch fastball, didn't get it. Nice over the top yacker.
Kela was born in Los Angeles. Went to Everett Community College in the state of Washington. Drafted in the 12th round in 2012 by the Rangers. First year in the big leagues. It's 1-1. He's a big part of this changed bullpen in the second half of the season. Diekman, another part of that. Sean Tollison has done well as the closer with 31 saves. Springer fouls it back. 1-2 to George. Kela went to the minor leagues after pitching well here and was recalled August 11th. Since he came back in 13 games, he has 12 shutout innings with 17 strikeouts. He's fanned 11 of his last 21 batters faced. Neftali Feliz was the closer at the beginning of the season for the Rangers. Runner takes off and he'll make it easily. On ball 2 to Springer, a stolen base for Jake Marisnick. His 19th.
That's a pretty good selection of pitches on which to go. And you see, even with a good shot, a catcher's going to have a tough time getting Jake.
That makes the Astros 13 for 13 in stolen base attempts against the Rangers this season. Gets Marisnick into scoring position. And now Springer will be looking over a 2-2 pitch. And it's ball 3. Jose Altuve's on deck.
Taking a pretty close pitch here with 2 strikes. That's a very poor job in terms of the receiving by Jimenez.
He looked as if he was crossed out.
Completely fooled with that body language, and that won't get you many calls.
That's ball 4, and Springer takes a stroll. So 2 walks now here in the 8th with 2 outs. Will get Altuve to the plate.
I was going to say, I'll bet this pitch was pretty close too. And that's a strike. George gets away with one. A lot of hitters are getting away with that pitch. I don't understand why the umpires haven't figured it out.
Mike Maddox chatting with his rookie right-handed reliever before Altuve bats. Passes along a few words. Jose with his fans. They probably made the trip up I-45 from Houston.
If I'm the Rangers, this guy, Altuve, is the last guy I'd want to face where a single makes a big difference.
Right. And in terms of delivering with men in scoring position, Altuve's the man for Houston. He has a homer and a single tonight. Also has reached twice on errors. .314 batting average for the season with runners in scoring position. .337 for 95 at bats.
And I'll go beyond the numbers. He's a guy that in clutch scenarios late in a ball game hits the ball hard. He just simply gets great swings.
Turned back towards second by Kella.
Come on, baseball, stop allowing that play. It's got to be an infielder at the bag.
Right-handed hitters have only 1 hit in their last 25 at bats against Kella. Billy Butler got that over the weekend for Oakland. That's in the dirt for ball 1. Indians down Kansas City 8-3. Cleveland. They climb back to 500 at 71-71 with Carlos Carrasco getting his 13th win, and Edinson Boquez is now 13-8 with the loss. Alex Gordon hit his 12th for Kansas City. Jason Kipnis number 8 for Cleveland. Giovanni Urshela number 6. Altuve lays off. Now it's 2-0.
Well, you would think this is a fastball scenario. And I'm going to guess that Altuve sells out on everything else right here and goes fastball.
Sam Freeman is warming up for Texas, a lefty. Way up, and it's 3-0 now.
That fastball is a good one at 95.
Altuve with 2 hits tonight has increased his league leading total to 176. He had 225 last year to lead the majors. Strike, 3-1.
Well, if you're going to take on the 3-0, that's one you really should take, not a pitch to really handle. Whether by design or reaction, good discipline by Altuve.
Altuve to left field, coming over Drew Stubbs to put the threat away. No runs, no hits, 2 men left. It's 3-3 in the 8th. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by HEB. No store does more than my HEB. 3-3 ball game on a beautiful night here in North Texas. It'll be the bottom of the 8th inning coming up for the Rangers. They have their closer up, John Tolleson, hoping they can get a lead. Oliver Perez comes in with other ideas for the Astros in 58 games this season. He's 2-2 with a 3.79 ERA. The Astros 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, so their pitching staff is trying to play that waiting game until they can get their 3, 4, 5 hitters due up in the 9th. And Scott Kazmir in 7 innings allowed 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, walking 1, fanning 4. Here's Chu, and he gets a slider for strike 1. Chu is 0 for 2 and was hit by a pitch. Perez worked a scoreless 9th inning Wednesday at Oakland. In for a strike, and it's 0-2. Tremendous job by Scott Kazmir tonight.
You can't even see the ball behind number 2 there. 0-2 count. He hasn't really been near the strike zone.
That's tapped to third. Jonathan Villar over to Valbuena, 1 out.
Saw a little Adrian Beltre in that throw by Villar.
Yeah.
Maybe not a bad thing.
Villar seems to be a little more relaxed now that he's back in the big leagues. Here's a September call up. I think the experience has worked well for him. He has made his share of errors in the past. That's the 1 out Perez has been called on to get, and he got it. It's 3-3, and we'll be right back. This season, and it'll be Beltre and Fielder due up here in the 8th inning with 1 out. In his 58th appearance, he's 5-3 with a 1.42 ERA.
Easily his best year in the major leagues. Next best, 2.91 ERA a couple of years ago with Arizona. Of course, that was a pretty tough ballpark to pitch in, as was his original site in the major leagues, Colorado.
Beltre is 0 for 3. Fielder on deck here in the 8th inning. Over Perez retiring Chu, the only man he faced in his 1/3 of an inning of hitless relief. Harris got the loss Saturday in Anaheim. There's ball 1. Came in with the game tied 2-2 in the 7th inning. Gave up a C.J. Cron homer in the 8th. And the Astros lost that one 3-2. He pitched a scoreless inning in Oakland September 9th prior to that on this trip. Ripped into left field. Beltre has a 1-out single. Fielder to follow. Fielder is 1 for 3. He reached on an error. He has scored 2 runs. Got to hit his last time up. Drew Stubbs is on deck. Yankees beat the Rays 4-1 in St. Petersburg for their 79th win. Ball 1 to Fielder. Harris has pitched 5 times against the Rangers this season with a 1-0 record and a 1.04 ERA, giving up 1 earned run in 8 2/3 innings. In for a strike, and it's 1-1. Yankees came up with 4 in the 9th inning. There's Tony Sipp warming up for the Astros. He beat the Rays closer Brad Boxberger, who had a 1-0 lead when the 9th inning started. In tight for ball 2. Slade Heathcock with a 3-run homer off Boxberger in the 9th, his 2nd of the year. Now 3 balls and a strike to Fielder.
What a start to the year Prince Fielder had. 333 in April, 377 in May, hit over 300 in June, but he's had quite a tail off here since the All-Star break.
In for a strike, and it's a full count.
It's a pretty hittable pitch. It would seem up. Well, off the plate like that, not so much. That angle can really be deceiving.
Fielder has grounded into 17 double plays. Runner going. That's smoke to center field. Hit way back. Marisnik right there at the wall, leaping, and that ball is leaving the ballpark. A 2-run homer for Fielder. 5-3 Texas. Home run number 19 for Prince Fielder, giving him 77 runs batted in.
Well, that qualifies as a big swing. And in game 1, you never know the impact it might have. Pretty much center cut. Stood around admiring a good long while for a ball that just barely gets over Jake Marisnik.
At the 4-4 sign, now Drew Stubbs with strike 1.
Powerful man, and he's a good hitter. But he has been in a funk. Jake Marisnik is to the side of this just a bit, maybe by design to get up as much as possible.
Stubbs fouls it back. It's 0-2. Stubbs is 0 for 10 since joining the Rangers. He's a fine defensive player, and that's his mission quite often when he goes into a game with the Rangers. Try to protect the lead. 1-2. Rangers have hit 2 long balls tonight. Moreland with a 2-run shot in the 6th, and now Fielder with his 19th. Harris has now allowed 7 home runs in 64 innings. It's 2-2. Seattle got 3 in the bottom of the second inning, still batting with a 3-1 lead on the Angels. Seth Smith hit his 11th home run. With a man on. That's Garrett Richards. Strikeout of Stubbs. 2 outs. Mitch Moreland hit the 2-run 6th inning homer. That one made it 3-2 Texas.
Jake really got up there. And this ball up and over the glove. Jake might have timed that just a fraction early.
Tony Sipp is going to be called in to face the lefty hitting Moreland with the score 5-3 Texas. Back in a moment. Swing of the bat, around to center field for Fielder.
He got enough, but just barely enough. And obviously the Rangers and their fans react.
Two outs in the bottom of the 8th inning, and it's lefty Tony Sipp to face Mitch Moreland.
Well, Tony comes on 2-4 on the season, 2.12 the ERA. The numbers are not bad. 51 strikeouts in 46 2/3 innings, a whip right at the 1 mark. So in his assignments, he's done another nice job back-to-back years.
He pitched a 1-hitter yesterday in Anaheim. There is strike 1 on the swing by Moreland. As Sipp re-entered that bullpen picture, and he is not allowed to run in his last 18 appearances, covering 16 and a 3rd inning since July 7th. It's 1-1. Sipp had been sidelined for a few days by a bit of a lower back issue. He had not pitched from August 26th until yesterday. In for a strike, and it's 1-2. Two Mississippi guys squaring off here in this confrontation. Foul back by Moreland.
It's exactly what Hank Conger wanted. He wanted that heat up.
Moreland was born in Amory, Mississippi, went to Mississippi State. Sipp from Pascagoula, Mississippi. the right field corner. Moreland heads for second base. George Springer picks it up off the wall, and that's a double.
Well, the body had committed and was really out of position for Moreland, but he kept his hands back enough to make this happen. Watch the body go kind of flying away, but just stayed on it with the hands. It's a guy who's figured out something to help him against left-hand pitching.
Elvis Andrus with a runner at second and 2 outs, 0 for 3. Actually, right-handed batters aren't faring as well as lefty hitters against Tony Sipp. 172 is the batting average against Sipp for the guys who bat from this side of the plate. 232 for lefties. That's a foul ball, and Conger got another one off his body. Strike one.
Apparently Conger started to feel okay after the early rib drilling that he got. Well, he's been beat up tonight. Those foul tips, those excuse me foul tips on the shoulders and arms and inner thighs just wear on you as a catcher.
Center field. Marisnick back into right center, and he makes the running play. In the 8th inning, the Rangers break the tie with 2 runs off 3 hits. They leave a man, and they're up 5-3 heading to the 9th. His 27th career long ball against the Astros.
More often than not, it takes that one big swing, one big inning that'll win it for teams. Don't quit now, though. The Astros haven't swung it yet in the 9th.
Will Venable checks in right field. The Rangers trying to preserve their 5-3 lead. They go with Venable replacing Chu in right field. They go with their closer, Sean Tollison, pitcher number 4 of the night, coming in facing the 3-4-5 hitters with a 5-3 record, 31 for 33 in saves.
It's quality stuff, and one of the reasons the Rangers find themselves right now trying to win this division.
Carlos Correa leads it off for Houston. He's 1 for 4. Taps that one off his leg. Foul ball. Strike 1. Jonathan VR is on deck. Colby Rasmus due to bat 3rd in the inning against the 27-year-old right-hander Tollison, who was born in Dallas and went to Baylor University. Drafted by the Dodgers, claimed on waivers by the Rangers after the 2013 season. He has had a big year. Off the plate, 1-1. He's had 5 days off. And that's the longest amount of time he's had to rest since the 6 days he got over the All-Star break. Got his most recent save last Tuesday. 2 balls and a strike. This is the Rangers' 16th season in their team history to get 30 saves from a pitcher. But Tollefson didn't get his first until May 20th. Foul back, 2-2. They were able to make these changes in their bullpen, and they have really taken hold with Tollefson anchoring that pen. He was 3rd in save percentage in the American League. 94% of the time when called upon, he has delivered a save. Correa lines one past Odor into right center field. Great swing by Correa, his 2nd hit of the night.
There's that stay on it swing where Correa goes back up the middle and to right field. Had to get a runner before anything of magnitude could start here in the inning for the Astros, and it's Carlos Correa to get it done.
He's aboard for VR. VR took over for the injured Jed Lowry. VR is 0 for 1 with a walk. Rasmus on deck. Double play depth for Andrus and Odor. Strike 1 at 93 to VR. The Rangers are trying to cut the Astros lead to 1/2 game. If they win, they would draw even in the loss column at 67 losses for each club. Houston has played 1 more game. Odor charging, makes the tag and then throws to first for a double play. Correa was called out, and it's a 4-3 double play.
Boy, that's a tough play when you're the runner at first base. How do you play it? That slow chopper. Can you get by the defensive player before he can make a play on you? And if you wait and come back the other way, they'll just get the out at first base and then get you in a rundown. Correa with just no other choice than to do what he did. Stay tuned for Astros postgame presented by Houston Methodist. That's with, of course, Kevin Eschenfelder and Mike Stan. They'll break it all down with the highlights and their analysis of tonight's game.
Fans are standing. Colby Rasmus is 2 for 4. He drove in a run in the 7th inning to tie it at 3. Strike to Rasmus. The Rangers are trying to go 9-4 against Houston with a win tonight. Rasmus showing bunt, looks at a ball. Has 3 saves against the Astros this year. Foul back. 1-2 now. Colin McHugh pitches for Houston tomorrow night against lefty Derek Holland. There's the youngster Matt Duffy, 26 years old, just promoted to the big leagues today. In that previous shot, Rasmus checked his swing. The appeal went down to third base. Tony Randazzo with a call. 2-2.
Does a nice job of holding that bat back. The barrel got just about to the front of the plate.
Struck him out. And the Rangers win the first of this 4-game series, 5-3. Tollison getting his 32nd save. Keller, the winner, going to 7-5. Harris, the loser, 5-4. In 3 hours and 3 minutes, the Rangers draw even in the loss column with the Astros, who lead them by 1/2 game. Fielder's 2-run homer in the 8th, providing the deciding runs. Rangers 5, Astros 3.